The Roaring Twenties were dominated by pro-business Republican presidents. Following World War I, Harding won the election of 1920 by a landslide.
Additionally, Americans believed that the war was pointless and isolated themselves from foreign affairs.
And we'll be back after this.
Make your wife's job easier with the vacuum cleaner. It is only $99, which can be bought in 3 easy payments of $33.
And we're back.
This advertisement is an example of the expansion of consumerism, which put the economy in peril when people could not pay back money lost from installment plans.
The automobile was another example of consumerism that stimulated the workforce and the economy, especially when Ford introduced the assembly line, reducing the price of cars for all to purchase way more easily.
The government lost money due to the fact that they could not tax alcohol sold illegally in new secret bars known as speakeasies.
Although there were minor continuities from the 1920s into the 30s, much greater changes could be seen as the economy was devastated by the Great Depression, and the introduction of the New Deal saw unprecedented federal interference in citizens' lives as well as in the failing economy.
Politically, the people felt that Herbert Hoover did too little too late. His policy of volunteerism was ineffective due to his unwillingness to have the central government help, as seen by the hungry children living in a Hooverville. Due to Hoover's failure in a time of great need, the first ever Democrat since Woodrow Wilson was elected, FDR.
The only thing that we have to fear is fear itself.
FDR's iconic first 100 days passed several programs to work towards his goals of relief, recovery, and reform.
Relief programs gave immediate support for people out in the streets and supplied the nation with hope.
Relief was followed by recovery programs to restore the economy, which included the bank holiday. And recovery was followed by reform for banks, industry and agriculture, and the economy as a whole. This included increased taxes for Social Security, which created the first welfare state, and was the first time the federal government really provided for retirement.
Franklin Roosevelt's fireside chats reassured the public to trust the banks. This shows change as Roosevelt spoke directly, unslanted to the public via the radio, which reached the entire nation for the first time.
My dear citizens of America, the federal government has made sure that you no longer have to worry about losing your money in the banks. After losing so much money due to closures from more withdrawal than input, I have made for each bank in America to be inspected and have only the trustworthy banks being opened. That way you no longer have to worry about losing your money and the economy will rise.
FDR's first New Deal aimed to bring immediate relief to the poor. Even though this was only a temporary solution, it still signified a major change as the federal government directly influenced the job market for the very first time. The second New Deal was centered around economic recovery and reform, both of which addressed possible long-term solutions to the Depression. Ultimately, the Depression could only be ended by the start of World War II and the economic stimulation that accompanied it.
The 5 most important New Deal programs. Well, Social Security would probably be in the top 5. It was the first time that the federal government taxed people to provide for others. The Glass-Steagall Act was monitoring for the federal banking system, which helped to keep bank foreclosures down and actual logging of funds. Probably the Wagner Act, because it allowed for unions to organize and cooperate with industry. And the CCC, because it provided jobs in conservation for the civilians, planting trees and some beautification programs. And the Works Progress Administration, as like the extension of the Public Works Administration, provided lots of federal jobs to unemployed.
Alongside the changes which took place,
Opposition of Roosevelt's New Deal and the changing role of government in people's lives continued.
Unlike Hoover, FDR was an active president, expanding the government's role in people's lives, which shows a change in the political nature of how the nation was run. Economically, more jobs were created to stimulate the economy to make sure that the country would never enter another Great Depression.
Reasons for the Depression include isolationism from the rest of the world, which created limited markets for the United States, as well as high tariffs placed on American goods from other countries. The Wall Street crash worsened the Depression and was caused by overspeculation and buying on the margin.
The Dawes Plan was an attempt to avoid extreme debt between countries. America would give money to Germany, who would give money to France, and Britain, who would then give the money to the U.S., leaving Germany again in debt to everyone else. This only hurt the economy even more so. This eventually led to the debt moratorium instituted by Hoover. This reveals a change in American foreign policy from involved to isolated.
As the economy continued to worsen, effects of the Depression included homelessness, increased suicide rates, and a decrease in the national income. This shows a change in the economy as people demanded government action to help with the economy.
Another change is the rise of unions, such as the Wagner and Fair Labor Standards Act. The American Federation of Labor and the Congress of Industrial Organizations also grew with increased union membership. This shows a contrast from the earlier era, as unions were more widely accepted and disassociated with communism.
The Dust Bowl was the first major environmental change unlike any other in U.S. history. The ruined topsoil damaged the economy for farmers but led to a huge migration west to states like California. Huge population increases finally encouraged the development of California with more workers.
In conclusion, there were many major changes as seen through the contrast in the government's role in the economy. Another inconsistency included the social aspect of the country.
This is exemplified by Eleanor Roosevelt's role as the most active First Lady. She took on social responsibilities, emphasizing the growing role of women in society, stressing their independence. Eleanor also was an activist for equal employment of African Americans and the reorganization of Native Americans.